I was yesterday years old when I found out that the idea for this movie came from a deleted post-credit scene from the first one. I thought that was kind of interesting, so I wanted to share it with you. So yesterday, right after seeing Project Hail Mary, I traipsed along to the next auditorium to see Ready or Not 2. I really enjoyed the first movie. To refresh my memory, I went back on Letterboxd to look at my rating, and at the time, I gave it a 4 out of 5. Didn't write a review for it, but just 4 out of 5. And I've rewatched it multiple times since, and I still really enjoyed that movie. So I was looking forward to the sequel. Didn't really feel like this movie needed a sequel, but I also don't feel like it was really harmed by it either. Ready or Not 2 or Ready or Not Here I Come, it's not as good as the first one. I kind of expected that, but it's not something that was a terrible viewing experience. I had a lot of nitpicks with it because of certain character decisions, actions that were taken that just kind of fall into that very tropey territory. And maybe the first one did it too. It probably did, but I just feel like this one was a little bit more so. Anyway, the basic story is, well, if you remember the first one, the main character marries into this family, and then she finds out that there is this really weird ritual that the families do with a new husband or wife that is brought in. And the particular card that she dealt for this ritual was hide and seek. She had to hide, and they were going to all try to find her and kill her. It ended up that she survived through the night, and at the end of the first one, she's walking out of the mansion and she sits down on the steps and she starts smoking a cigarette. This film picks up right at that point. It picks up with her walking outside. She sits down, smokes her cigarette, collapses. The paramedics take her off. She ends up at the hospital. She is in trouble because, everybody's dead. And she's not, and she's got their blood all over her. So obviously it looks bad for her. What you find out is that the family that was in the first movie, they were involved with a bigger group or a bigger organization, a bunch of Satanists. And there was like this main family that was the head of all of them. And when this family in the first movie died, it kind of opened up the doorway to another competition for all the other families within this organization. In the meantime, her baby sister comes along to see her in the hospital, and she gets caught up into everything. So just chaos and mayhem and almost nonstop gore and bloodshed, exploding bodies happen in this film, probably even more than in the first film, because it is a sequel, so they made sure to up that game. This is, once again, very darkly comedic and very similar in tone, I thought, to the first one. It has been a little bit since I've seen the first one, so maybe that feeling would change if I rewatched it right now, but it felt very much in line with the first one. And that is largely because the same directors returned. That's not always a guarantee, even with the same directors. Some movies made by the same person within a series of films don't really feel like some of their earlier entries, but this one did. Katherine Newton plays her sister, and with the introduction of the sister, you then get more backstory on the main character's life before the first film. Elijah Wood plays the family's attorney. He's kind of a neutral party. He's just there to sort of tell everybody the rules. He does what he has to do in order to get things to happen the way they should, but he's not really a participant actively in all of the stuff that's going on. As far as the tone and pacing, I felt that it was fast-moving, efficiently paced. I barely noticed the time passing. At one point, I did glance at my watch. I can't remember why. It wasn't that I was bored. I think it was because I needed to remind myself that I had to make a call after the movie, and I wanted to make sure my timing was still going to be right. And I was surprised to see that an hour had already gone by, and I had barely felt it. So I thought that was a plus in the film's favor for sure. Despite my overall enjoyment with it and the absolute chaos, I'm not entirely sure that the addition of the sister helped. And maybe it's just because it was played by Katherine Newton, who is kind of increasingly doing less and less for me as an actor. In this movie, she felt like she was just playing herself, or a similar version of other characters that I've seen her play in other movies. I don't feel like she's got a ton of range, honestly. Maybe this is just her wheelhouse and that's where she does best, but it feels like we're getting the same character with her a lot of times. And because these sisters have a history, obviously they do, it leads to repetitive arguments between them that sometimes, at least the second or third time it happened, it felt like it was just a rehash. And if I had to say anything about the pacing, I feel like it was those moments that did kind of drag it down a little bit, because I thought to myself about the second or third time they had this argument, we've gone over all this before. You're just saying the same things over again. Move on. Let's get on to the story. It wasn't anything that was a huge deal. I had more of a problem with some of the other stuff that happened in here. One that really stuck in my craw was there is a point where they end up putting one of the bad guys, one of the people that's after them, in this industrial washing machine. Turn it on, they get it going, and it kills him, okay, because it's all this water and it's very, very, very hot. Melts his skin and everything. But before they opened the door and his body came out, there was this little conversation the sisters had. The older sister seemed like she was ready to open the door, and the younger sister was like, no. And the older sister said, well, he might have a phone. And as soon as I thought that, I was like, what? This phone, this potential phone, is rolling around in this washing machine in this scalding hot water. Why do you think it's worth even trying to get a phone? Well, they do get a phone off him, and this is a little bit of a spoiler because this part was terrible. I thought this was awful. The phone magically works. Scalds the man, kills him because it's so hot. But not only has the phone been doused in water and gone through scalding hot water at that, it's working. Now, that was all to set up this attempt to call out for help. That was a lame-ass setup for that. That was not the best. I mean, it would have been better for them to just find a phone on a table magically, conveniently. I would have rolled my eyes at that, but not as hard as what happened here. There were other moments to plot conveniences where they find a purse that magically has certain important items that they're going to be able to use later to their benefit. Stuff like that. Also, the very tropey thing of not making sure somebody's down when they're down. Just get rid of them. This is a fight for your life, a fight to the death. Don't just knock them down and turn your back and walk away. Stupid. I cannot stand when movies do that, and they do it a lot. Again, not enough to make me hate this film because I don't, but definitely enough to make me notice and get under my skin, which it really does, because I've brought this sort of stuff up a lot. Setups like that rely on conveniences or suspension of disbelief, stupid moments in a fight where you don't take full advantage of the situation, stuff like that. I forgot to mention that Sarah Michelle Gellar plays in here. I wasn't super impressed with her performance. Her character kind of attempts in some ways to separate herself from the lunacy that's going on, but she's an active participant in it, so it kind of falls flat. All of the other characters in here, as characters, they all kind of blend together because they're all part of this, evil cult that worships Satan and does all sorts of really, really bad stuff. So I found it hard to believe that the character of Sarah Michelle Gellar would be someone who's kind of good when she really wasn't. It became pretty clear that she wasn't, but I don't know. I don't think her performance in here was anything super fantastic or spectacular. Nobody really had super spectacular performances because it was a very sort of similar situation to the first movie. Nothing with these other characters stood out to me as anything that was significantly an improvement over the first one as far as these people that are coming after them to try to kill them. But in general, I do think it's still enjoyable for fans of the first film or dark comedy horror. Despite the gripes I had, the pacing and the crazy amounts of gore and exploding, keep it pretty entertaining. We'll see how well it performs. The last time I checked on IMDb, it had a slightly higher score than the first one. I don't think that's going to hold. I think the more people watch it, the lower it will notch down, but I don't think it's going to be a huge difference between first and second, even though I had a bunch of little nitpicks with it. But it's certainly not anything I regret watching. I'm not angry at it. Wouldn't have minded it to be a little bit stronger as far as some of those things, but it's not like what I saw was surprising as far as level of quality. It's just the way it is a lot of times with sequels. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Ready or Not 2 or Ready or Not Here I Come. If you guys get a chance to check it out this weekend, maybe you'll watch it same day as Project Hail Mary like I did, or just go back to back days and watch one or the other. Let me know what you think about it. It was definitely a shift in tone from Project Hail Mary. But at least I was able to leave the theater yesterday and feel pretty satisfied with the time that I had spent. So win-win for me. All right, you guys, that's it for now. Adios.